everybody. Good morning. I'm James Nestor. I'm an author and a member of Darewin, which is a research organization dedicated to understanding whale and dolphin click communication. And I'm here with two gentlemen of Darewin. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
Yes, I am Fabrice Schnoller, French engineer and biologist, and I created the Darwin Research and Development Program 7 years ago.
And I'm Fred Buyle. I'm a freediver and underwater photographer from Belgium.
So the idea of understanding whale and dolphin communication sounds completely insane to a lot of people. Convince me otherwise, that this is an attainable goal and what you're doing is not some pie-in-the-sky research.
So yes, it seems a bit crazy, but in a science point of view, not, because we know this animal communicates. We study them for decades, and there is many scientific publications that say they can share some information, but we just don't know how. We just don't know what they say. So the idea is, why do we fail for so many decades? And the idea of Darwin is that the communication is not the same communication than us, is that they use another sensory system, that is the echolocation, that we don't have. So we cannot use our sensory system to study them. We have to construct tools as to be able to study their communication in their sensory system.
Could you explain echolocation, Fred?
Echolocation is the sense whales and dolphins are using to just navigate in their world, because most of these whales, they spend a lot of time very deep where there's no light. Also, they hunt at night, and so they need a sensory system that enables them to locate prey and the environment. So they use clicks. So basically, it's like a boat sonar or a submarine sonar. You send a noise, and you analyze what it's coming back from the noise after it's been hitting various targets. And they can map that in 3D, and that's how they navigate.
So what you're doing is trying to capture those clicks that we know whales and dolphins already use to view the world. That's their sense of sight beneath the water. And you're trying to understand what's in those clicks? You believe there's information in there?
So the idea is that we know they use the clicks to navigate, to map their world. You know, that's their way of seeing the world. But now we are totally convinced that they use this sensory system to send and receive information. So there's information in some of the click they use.
Interesting. How did you get involved in this, Fabrice?
Just by chance, 10 years ago, I used to work as an engineer in building firms. I was CEO of building firms in big international groups, and I had a lifetime-changing encounter with a pod of sperm whale. And in fact, when you meet these animals at sea, they come to you and they use these incredible sounds with you. And you have really the feeling there is something more than just looking at you. It's something that you can feel when you are with them, because there is something through the behavior, through the way they look at you, and through the way they use these sounds that makes you think there is a bit more than just scanning you. And that was the beginning of this adventure. And after that, I decided to study biology, to do MSc in biology, and to create a research and development program to develop new tools that use new technology that allow us now to get into this universe. So, for example, virtual reality, augmented reality with antenna of hydrophone, bio-inspired antenna of hydrophones. We coded software as to be able to see the sound like they do and to understand the behavior, analyze it. And we created also, and that's the most important part of it, an open source database, so we can share the tools, the method, and the data with any scientist or with the public.
Okay. What I've always understood about whales is that they sing these long, languorous songs, and until you're in the water with sperm whales, you can't really understand the power of their communication. Instead of these very beautiful, smooth songs, it's an extremely violent clicking, clicking, clicking that you can actually feel in your head and chest. And we have some footage right here of a sperm whale encounter with Fabrice and Fred. I believe it's the sperm whale file, and we'll try to get
In
that
fact,
up
today
here.
I think we have documented hundreds of hours of these encounters with sperm whale, and the most impressive is when you can meet a pod of them, and especially mothers and calves, and they come towards you, and there is this interspecies encounter, and in these situations, that's where we have the most sounds.
Okay, I think we're bringing it up here, and we should have some sound. That is all coming from the sperm whale, and it's looking into your body right here. Their clicks penetrate through flesh.
So
You can actually see what's inside of you. This is a whale approaching Fabrice right now, getting very curious. So is that the experience where you put your hand out to stop the whale from bumping into you? And what happened there, Fabrice?
Oh, yes, I had to stop this baby whale. It's 8 meters, but it's a baby whale, and to stop it with my hand. And after, I was not able to move my hand during something like 10 minutes because I think the sound waves just crushed my nervous system in hand. So I had 10 minutes to get back as to be able to move it.
So that sounds really dangerous. Why would anybody want to go free diving with these animals? If we could pause that for a second, please. That seems like kind of a death wish. And first of all, could you explain what free diving is and why free diving is a good way to research with whales and dolphins?
So free diving is also called breath hold diving. So basically, we go underwater with just one breath of air. So we don't have any equipment, no scuba, no special equipment. So very light and free of movement. And it's the most natural way to go in the water. And it's the most natural way to meet these animals. In terms of danger with whales, the interesting fact is that in human history, there's no recording of a whale killing or harming seriously a human being. So all the encounters are really, really peaceful. Although they are very big animals, they are wild animals, so we always have to be a bit careful because they move a lot. It's a really big animal in the water. But they are very curious towards us, and we never have any sign of aggression or even stress.
So why study sperm whales and dolphins? Why not study another animal? What attracts you to these animals in particular?
We all know first that we are attracted by the whale and the dolphin, but they are also attracted by us. You know, every dolphin like to go in front of a boat and look at us. So, in fact, it's quite easy if you have the good behavior, not chasing them, not going too much towards them and be aggressive. It's very easy to have a very good encounter with them if you respect some rules. To be respectful, to take your time, and to be, in a way, aquatic. And you can get a real good result because they use the sound as a social skill with you. For example, the sound we are listening there from the baby whale is a well-known sound that is named coda. And these coda are the social sounds that use sperm whale to communicate. So they use it with you. We have the same result with dolphin. Dolphin use names. There is a lot of scientific publication about that. They use a whistle signature ID, and they use it with us. So, in fact, what is very interesting with these animals, is that they are wild animals, but they can spend with you 1 or 2 hours. They can come with you and use the sound they use for social communication. They can also put you in the middle of a pod like would do a group of gorilla yesterday in the jungle. So when this happens, you have a lot of data, and they are very interesting data because they use with you the same behavior they use together.
So that's interesting that you believe these animals are capable of some really high function intelligence and language. You mentioned that sperm whales have dialects that they use. Different sperm whales will use different dialects depending on where they're from. Dolphins have first names that they identify to you when you're in the water with them. Is that correct?
Yes, in fact, we did identify the whistle signature of the name of something like 20 dolphins out of a pod of 40. So now we are able to link these animals with this sound. And the thing is, we can also use it to connect. You know, if you send the good ID to the good dolphin, he really loves it. Like I would love if a dolphin come to me and say me Fabrice.
What about the dolphin and sperm whale brains? Could you tell us a little bit about that, Fred?
Yeah, so the sperm whale brain is the most bigger brain in the animal kingdom. It's 6 times the size of the human brain. But the most interesting fact about the sperm whale brain is that the density of cortex is even much higher than human brain. And when you know that it's in the cortex that all the cognitive abilities happen, then we can really see it's an incredibly intelligent animal that have a huge processing abilities, and even more than chimpanzee or other very intelligent animal we've been studying more.
So sperm whales have the same highly evolved brain structures as humans do?
Even more, somehow. If you see the cortex density, they have more cortex than we have.
And we know they're communicating with one another. We just don't know what they're saying yet.
That's it. And at the moment, we are far to understand exactly what they say. But we know they have a really complex language. And between pod of sperm whale, they have like a kind of a common language. But like you say, they can have dialects. And even some scientists could identify like almost accent amongst little groups. So it's a very complex social structure as well. It's a very social species. They always live together. The group is very important for them.
So you've been researching about 7 or 8 years, and what have you found so far collecting data on these animals?
So, you know, when you are on the field, it's not always easy, you know. So you progress by step. You can spend something like 1 year and getting quite nothing with sperm whale because they dive at 2,000 meters, and sometimes you don't even can find them, or they don't stay with you. They are very wild animals. But sometimes you can get a huge aggregation. So an aggregation is when a pod of sperm whale just stop foraging and they have social activities. And sometimes you can meet also this aggregation and they decide to come all around you. And in this situation, we can get a real result. I mean by real result, understand what's going on between them, how they use the sound together, and how they can use also the sound with you. So the first result we can get with these animals to see how they behave when they communicate. I mean, not only with the sound, because you have to understand the communication protocol. Our protocol is the conversation. I look at you in the eyes, I stop to talk, you stop to talk. This is the way we talk. We first have to understand what is their protocol. And we have to understand, do they have to face, to talk to each other? Can they have multiple individual conversations or not? Because maybe if we were sperm whale, we will be talking all the three together. So that's the first result we got. We did code the software, we did capture a very good aggregation with a lot of sounds, and now we're able to understand how they do use their communication protocol.
Okay. If we could see some of the software that you've developed right here, and maybe you could walk us through it, how it works.
Yes.
That would be the CX clip on the file.
So the idea of this software is just to use an antenna of hydrophone and to see
what's going on here.
So there are 3 whales with 3 different behaviors. One is just upside down, the other one is turning, facing us, and the third one is coming and opening the mouth. The same thing with dolphin. Here we are 2 dolphins, one is doing some clicks, the other one a social sound. So the interesting thing is that with this software we're able to see which one is doing which sound. So I mean, for example, for a free sperm whale, we saw that the one that is doing this social sound is turning and facing us. And it's what we observe with them. So they are quite like us. They need to face each other to talk. That's the first result.
Okay. So you've created technologies to be able to identify which whale or dolphin is communicating in a pod, which is pretty amazing. And then you can use those same technologies to then look at each of those clicks and dissect what they may be communicating to one another. Is that correct, Fred?
Yes, we were able to see this information in the clicks, but we need to build more tools to be able to analyze further the signal, of course. And but so far we are already able to identify that there is information inside these clicks.
What are the next steps for Darewin? What do you hope to do in the next year?
The next step is to get more resolution. So what we are doing now, we use free hydrophone antennas, so that allow us to see where the sound is coming from and to see if there is information into the sound. But it's a bit like if we were taking picture with a 4-pixel camera. 4 pixel is not enough to get the picture, so we need now a 100-pixel camera. What we are doing now is say, okay, there is information because these pixels are moving like that and we see this information. But to get more information, doing a 100-pixel camera is just doing like the dolphin. The dolphin is using his jaw as an antenna with 100 teeth.
Wait,
and each of these
teeth. Could you
teeth
explain that a little more? The dolphin uses its jaw as an antenna?
So it means each teeth is a receiver, like an hydrophone. So it does exactly what the doctor do when you do an ecography. The doctor sends you a sound in your body to see your baby, and this sound makes an echo, and we did receive it with multiple receivers, and we have an algorithm that constructs the 3D image of a baby. The dolphin is doing the same thing, but better, we can imagine. And we use this jaw with 100 of teeth to reconstruct the echo signal and see the 3D image.
Okay, so you're going to be collecting these echographic or sonographic images and then shooting them back to the animals to try to, ultimately, this is the hope, to have a visual-based dialogue. It has nothing to do with nouns or verbs or phonemes in the way that humans have conversation, but a completely different channel
That's
of
kind of the philosophical component of that project, is that we have to put ourselves at their level of communication and sensory system. So we have to think like they think, to be able to understand how they process the information and how we will maybe one day be able to do that. So I think it's a very interesting project on that side to try to get us back to nature and look more about what's around us and not always look at it with our human eyes, but try to understand how other animals, very intelligent animals, can see the world. And I think we have a lot to learn about that, to be able to put ourselves at their level.
So this is a very interesting scientific experiment, but does it play into larger themes of the environment and ocean conservation? How so, Fred?
Yes, of course, because they are iconic animals. Whales are iconic animals. Everyone loves whales and dolphins. Everyone wants to save whales and dolphins, but maybe not for the good reason. We want to save whales and dolphins so our kids can see them in 20 years. But the good reason to save whales and dolphins would be just because they are whales and dolphins and they have the right to exist. And that's the main thing I think here, is that we need to make people understand that all these animals are disappearing at a very rapid rate at the moment, and they are crucial to our ecosystem, to the sustainability of the oceans, and they will be the first to disappear. So we need to protect them, and the best way to protect them is to show that they have their own culture, their own way of living, and just because of that they have the right, and even more than the right, to exist.
So you give away all of your data for free to scientists or researchers, to anyone who wants it. So you hope that this project is going to be collaborative and you could work with many different people. You're not keeping any of this stuff private. Is that how Darewin works?
It's already like that. You know, we did some scientific article with academics sharing of data. Sometimes people send us some data. We had also an article with an oceanographic boat that made a very good recording of dolphin epidemiologic behavior. In fact, but we also want to share it with the public because, you know, to continue the subject we are talking about with Fred, to save the ocean, we know in 2050 all will collapse. We know most of the species of the ocean will disappear. But we don't make a change right now. We don't make a change for life below water, but we don't make a change also for us, you know, because the ocean is important for us and for the planet. I think to make the change, we have to be emotional, not only to give information, to be really emotional. And the power of the data we get is that we can share it through virtual reality. We can share these encounters. These encounters changed my life 10 years ago. I was just thrilled. I was an engineer and I get into that thing. I jumped into that thing because I say that's incredible. No, not everybody can live that experience, but tomorrow we can share this experience with any people. They will be able to put the Google to live the experience and maybe to have even more information through augmented reality to see what's happening, to see the names, to see everything.
So that's very interesting, and a point I think that we should bring up is the data that you collect with these various technologies can then be used for media. It can then be used for virtual reality. And you have a few films that can bring people into having these encounters with whales and dolphins and explain that. Can we see a clip of one of those? I believe it's the last video clip.
Yeah, that's the idea. Of course, we collaborate with scientists, we analyze data, but we need to engage the public as well, normal people that don't really go at sea and never dive with these whales. And with the virtual reality, we're able to bring the whales into their living room, basically. And after we have a few films, some people here in the audience can watch with a 360 headset. And it's a total immersive experience. And you really have the impression that you dive with the whales.
And this film is available on the New York Times VR app for free to anyone who wants to download it. It's called The Click Effect.
Exactly.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much, gentlemen. Great to see you again, even though we've been hanging out for the past 4 days together. So thanks a lot, everybody.
Yes.